Hi, Sharon. Have a minute?
Oh, sure, Jim. What's up?
I understand you'll be doing an ESP safety observation this afternoon, and I guess I just wanted to know more about what you'll be doing. The safety team in my area is just getting started with ESP, so I thought I'd come over and see how an observation is done.
Well, during our last safety meeting, Bob Allen volunteered to be observed. Actually, I was just going over some of the material before you walked in. There's a lot of upfront work to do before the observation.
Really? What exactly do you have to do? I mean, other than observe him do his job?
Well, you know the employee safety process was designed to create a safe workplace, right?
Yeah?
Well, the observation is a way to achieve that. We're observing the way work is performed, the way Bob has been trained, and the way he's prepared to do the job. The observation is basically made up of a triangle, and you can see that from the poster here on the wall. We look at three things: the environmental aspects, the training for the work involved, which is people on the triangle, and the critical actions or steps involved in doing the job. We call that behavior.
Sounds pretty complicated.
Oh, it's not complicated at all, really. All three of these factors work together to determine what the workplace will be like. When we look at environment, for example, we look at equipment, tools, machines, hazards that may be on site. Then we look at people, meaning their skills or how they've been trained. And then we look at behavior, the steps people use to do their jobs.
I think it's a great idea to do these observations, but do you think all this pre-observation work is really necessary?
Oh, I think it's very important. As a safety team member, I need to know what the team has identified as being critical for doing a job safely. By doing the upfront work, I have a much better understanding of what to look for when I go out to do the observation, instead of just hitting it cold. It's all on a checklist here I'll be using today. Oh, also, the team has process guides which we use, which we go through to help us get organized. The guides walk us through all the steps. It's really not that difficult.
Sure looks like you're prepared.
Yeah. I was just reviewing the safety team's assessment of Bob's job, you know, the 12 hazard types, caught between, struck by, falls. I also looked at several incident investigation reports, one of which didn't involve an injury.
How do you know what's critical for a particular job?
We study incident reports to identify potential trouble areas. Lacerations are a trouble spot we'll be looking at today. We also talk to the people who do the jobs and ask them what they feel is critical for doing a job safely.
That makes sense.
We also look at job procedures, environmental aspects, training for the work involved, things like that. Hey, why don't you come along this afternoon? I'm sure Bob won't mind.
Oh, that would be great. I have a 12:30 meeting, but I should be out in time. I'd like to see one of these observations. I mean, if Bob doesn't mind.
Okay, well, then why don't we meet here about 1:45 and we'll ask Bob then.
Well, great. I'll see you at 1:45.
Sure.
Thanks.
Yeah, I think so too, and also they're having on the cue cards. It's great. Well, hi, Bob. Thanks for meeting me here. Remember last week in our safety meeting you volunteered to be observed today? Is that still a go?
Yeah, I remember. No problem.
You guys know each other?
We've met.
Sure, how are you?
Well, Jim has never seen an ESP safety observation based on people, environment, and behavior take place. His group is just getting started, and he'd like to come along if you don't mind.
Yeah, I don't mind.
Thanks, Bob. I'll stay out of your way.
No problem.
Well, then why don't we head on out? We'll meet back here after you've finished, and I'll tell you what I observed, and it will be a lot quieter here, too.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Thanks, Bob. That was great. Now, let me just tell you what I observed. First, that you wore all the proper safety equipment, your hard hat, the safety glasses with side shields, the hot melt gloves and wristlets. Lacerations are a problem area on this job, and we're working on getting that under control, so I'm glad you had them on. You also wore your hearing protection, which is good because it can get a bit noisy out there. You took your time with everything and certainly didn't cut any corners. You stayed clear of the moving coil car, and you also had good communication skills with your coworker while changing the coil. That's really important. I was also impressed with your work area. It's really clean, good housekeeping. Do you have any questions?
No, not really. I mean, that wasn't so bad. I just did what I normally do. I mean, the housekeeping is always that way. I didn't straighten up just for you guys, you know. My wife and I like a clean home, and I guess I just do it here naturally, too.
Well, then maybe I should call your wife and thank her, too.
Well, I was impressed with everything, and not just the housekeeping. I'm anxious for our safety team to start the observations. Nice job, Bob, and thanks for letting me come along.
No problem.
Oh, by the way, here's a thank you card for letting us observe. And thanks for actively caring.
My pleasure.
Sure.
Thanks again for letting me come along, Bob. Listen, would it be okay if I use this in our safety share next week?
Absolutely.
Thanks a lot.
I'll see you at the meeting next week.
Yes, you will.
Sharon, everything seemed to go so well. What would you have done if Bob had done something wrong, like not wear earplugs?
Oh, I would have given him some coaching for improvement.
What would you have said?
Well, I would do everything exactly the same way for what he did safely and correctly. Then I would have expressed my concern for him not wearing hearing protection in a noisy situation. Then, of course, I would have encouraged him to wear earplugs in the future. Sometimes a little coaching is necessary. We try to do it in a nice way. We're not here to reprimand. We're just here to coach. All we really want is for people to be safe.
Yeah, that's the whole point of this, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Is that it?
Well, that's it for the observation. But there's some follow-up work that has to be done. We do lots of charting to make sure our efforts are making a difference in safety performance. And then we post our results on the safety bulletin board so we can share those with everyone else. As you can tell, we take this very seriously.
I can see that. I can also see now why it's so important to do your homework before the observation. Well, since you seem to have everything under control, I guess I'll head on back to my desk and make some notes.
Okay, well, if you have any questions while you're starting up, just give a call.
Sure will. Thanks again, Sharon.
Sure.